So I have a Python project that it has implemented feature flags, and I've been struggling to get the environment designation to work. Um, so the application itself stores the environment name, but unfortunately, it seems like the ability to set like an environment specific feature flag doesn't work. And I was curious if I could get like a second pair of or third pair of eyeballs on it. And if this is the right meaning, great. If not, I can uh, hit up another mean or medium for that.
Yeah, no, I think this is a good place to chat about that. So I remember, I think in our conversation last, that like some of the documentation things were a little bit misleading about like, the alignment of what app name is to like app name, environment name kind of thing,
Yep.
right? And so you've resolved that, or are you trying to get around something else? And feel free to like share your screen or do
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Let me pull that up real quick. So this is the application, and one of the things that I'm doing, and I'll kind of just walk through how this is happening. But I'm utilizing Auto DevOps, and then I am exporting for Auto DevOps. I'm exporting some GitLab CI variables, so like project ID, project path, and pulling those, sending those downstream, as well as the environment. So the environment's also being propagated, and you can actually see that, this environment is one of the review environments, and then like this environment is like the production environment. And then really all I'm doing is I'm showing the different feature flags that are enabled and whether or not they're set to true or false. And what I was hoping to be able to do was within feature flags, go into like here and turn it like, so right now, if I have this innocuous button turned off for everything, and we ought to see after 15 seconds, make sure it.
Right.
So it got, I was able to successfully turn it off. But when it's turned back on, like this all environments designation.
Yeah, there's a bug that we're fixing now related to that.
Okay.
Let me pull it up. The all environments is working a little bit funky.
So can I name something specifically? So like if I turned this on specifically only for production and save my changes, I would need this to be on and this to be on, correct?
I think so. Andrew, can you confirm?
I'm actually not 100% sure what this ends up looking like on the back end.
And if I need to like delete and recreate these since they're the old version, I'd be happy to do that as well.
I think you should do that anyway, because in 13.4, it's going to turn to read only.
Okay.
The tokens should be are rolled out on .com, but will be part of 13.3. Is that what milestone we're in now? 13.3.
Let's wait for them all to update. There. So now it appears that the new type of, so this might be something that I need to work through, because the new type of feature flag doesn't even seem to be showing up in the application.
Is
it
that
the
not it
same
right
name?
there?
Well, I think this might be a cached instance. I don't know what to trust right now, because it should be off.
Right.
So this button should be like, so if whatever's most recent should be pulling it as, so all that to say, have we been able to validate that the Python implement, like there shouldn't be anything Python specific about like feature flags that that should change anything, correct? Like how this is working today is I have this service and it's going out and reaching out to the Unleash client, and let me pull up the right. And environment is equal to the GitLab environment name. And is this where I need to make sure that it's utilizing app name as environment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that is essential to how the environment specs work.
I thought I had done that in one of my branches. Maybe I have not. Is there a reason why we opted for app name to be the environment name?
The app name is just an easy value that was used by Unleash beforehand as part of like a registration process.
Yep.
And they're slowly adding the support for like a custom environment section as well. But as far as I'm aware, that's not 100% there yet, and we don't
Gotcha.
support that part of the API.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I was asking was like one of the things that when I've worked with customers, they're interested in is having like a feature flag project.
Mm-hmm.
So that, because they don't want developers to always have access to their feature flags. And right now there's not really any good way to lock that down. So one of the approaches that I've recommended is like, well, just create a new project, have your feature flags there, give your developers the access token and the registration entry, and then you can consolidate, you can have one feature flag project. But then it would be nice to be able to like designate, app name and environment name together.
Yes. As a means of telling GitLab you want feature flags from this project versus another project. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, so you would have like, let's pretend that we have 5 microservices and I want all of my feature flags to be in a single location.
Mm-hmm.
And I might want to not only enable feature flags for an environment, but I also want it to be an app specific feature flag as well.
So those should be joined for the customer's application, the GitLab customer's application.
Yep.
I wrote code that essentially does that. The environment doesn't need to be staging or production. I actually named the environment customers staging and customers production, and even expose an environment variable that you can use locally so that you can target your specific development environment or development in general. Does that make
Gotcha.
sense? So,
Yeah.
That's just part of the environment
com-
naming it. Yeah.
Combining two keys into one key. And then,
And then those are referenced as the environment when
Cool.
you are like hitting the API.
Yep. Yeah. So one of the use cases that they do have though is like the ability to, and currently what we're implementing is totally feasible, right? Like having a project that's designated for feature flags outside of the source code repository. And I'm assuming like when we move to dog food this within like our own production environment, I'm assuming GitLab.com will be going out to GitLab staging for feature flags. Is that the end goal?
That sounds like what was discussed at some point. I think that makes
Because
sense.
that's where GitLab's being deployed from.
Yeah. Does that sound right, Shinya?
Yeah, I think so.
So staging will be the source of truth for both deployment history as well as the feature flags. And customers would be able to do the exact same thing. So then that bears the question, will staging be the source of truth for all feature flags across all of GitLab environments?
If we wanted it to be, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm thinking through like, we're a bit of a weird use case, but I'm just trying to think through like patterns that we can be recommending to customers. Because I think they'll definitely be looking for guidance on this.
Yeah,
I will
we've
say that
already been asked by several customers for some kind of best practice guide or something. I even opened an issue for a best practice guide, but I'm not sure that we're
far
there
enough
yet.
along. Yeah. And I think that's totally fine. Yeah. And honestly, I think like I've seen a lot of customer interest in feature flags. So, and we just met with a customer that was really wanting to utilize feature flags, but can't move forward with premiums not cost justifiable for them. So,
Well, good news for you is going to core
13.4.
next milestone.
What's the likelihood that will make it into the release?
I think it's pretty high, and if it doesn't make it in 13.4, then it'll slip a little.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, we shared that news with them just to be as transparent as possible.
It's our first priority item. We have 2 P1 items in the release, so hopefully it'll make it.
Are there plans on making like, as we build out the feature flag capability, are there plans on including certain parts of it in premium and ultimate?
Yes, great question. So we're moving to core what we have right now, excluding one thing. So what we currently have is a very basic way to configure feature flags. What we do want to monetize on is the extra value connectivity. So we added in the last milestone a way to link issues, for example. That's going to be in starter, I think, and we plan to also add the ability to link epics, MRs, requirements at some point, and we also even want to link them back to the release page so that you get a full circle. So that's going to be one of the monetized features. Metrics is another one. So the ability to get client metrics. A/B testing is a huge one, which we're going to, we just finished user research, user interviews on that, and we plan to start coming up with some implementation plans for that. So that's really exciting. That's for sure going to be paid.
Cool.
I'm sure there's some more that I forgot, but we have plans for that.
So the metrics, I'm assuming we're just, so Unleash has like a metrics API endpoint that we're currently not implementing. We're going to be implementing that. And will that be stored in the Postgres database, or will that be a separate data store?
That's It's a good question. I don't know the answer yet.
I don't think we have any solid plans about what we want to do with that right now.
Yeah. As much as I love the single data store model, metrics data might not be the best fit for, depending on the customer.
Yeah, I'm here from the growth team, and
You're extremely quiet, Andrew.
this is Jeremy. Can you guys
Jeremy.
hear me better?
There you go. Yes.
I'm here from the growth team, and we're going to be implementing the Unleash stuff for experiments. And so
Cool.
we're specifically looking for A/B and variant testing. So that's sort of what I'm investigating specifically, and how we can expose that to customers ultimately.
Nice.
Yeah, and also to help us all out, also connecting, the snowplow info and bringing that to be visible, which would be really, really cool.
So to me, that do you know, has anybody worked with the analytics? So like within GitLab, we have like the group level analytics where you can write queries and everything, which is great. Sometimes I am a bit fearful that like we're running queries on a trend, like an operational data store that might be better suited for like a data mart or some sort of time series, like some sort of data store that can be sliced and diced by time. And typically that's more like a data mart or a data warehouse. Hi, this is my son.
Hi.
And I didn't know if I'm just kind of thinking through. I'm wondering if it would be good to have like a broader conversation to other areas.
Possibly. Whereas like in such a preliminary state that maybe it's a little bit premature.
That's fair.
Sorry, Tim. You showed me you showed us the configuration of Unleash client, right? The Python library.
Yep.
I think you need to set up app name, and you have to set the environment name here. So I just quickly looked up the source code, and then it seems the app name is sent as a Unleash app name. This is sent to the header, and in GitLab, this is GitLab side, the API.
Yep.
And it's get the Unleash app name, right? And this is considered as an environment name. So if you want to fetch production feature flag, you have to set app name and production to the app name. Yeah, otherwise you don't get anything.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's it.
I thought I had made that change, but my code is telling me differently. So thank you for that call out.
Mm-hmm.
We've all been there. I'm sure it's hiding somewhere locally on your disk.
Right. I'll assume positive intent on my intentions.
Cool. Angelo, do you want to verbalize your?
So yes, I found the proposal about making feature flags an issue type very interesting and also makes much sense. I had let's say the outer question about putting there the discussion attribute or the discussion area, as it seems to me that let's say the biggest ground for collaboration in GitLab is the discussion on issues, and I fear that starting to split the possible discussion about the feature flag can make this harder. So of course, maybe I missed some imagination about what kind of discussion can happen on a feature flag section. So I just wanted to ask Orit or someone else if you have ideas about it.
Yes, so this is something that we discussed in last week's feature flag weekly meeting. And it's a really interesting concept. So I have just recently completed a competitive analysis in Launch Darkly, and I started opening issues for gaps. And one of the gaps was, for example, they have something called a maintainer for feature flags, which means that if I'm an SRE and I am now dealing with some problem in production and I have no idea what this flag does, I have a name of someone who I can call to ask questions or have them, do something. Which sounded very similar to our assignee. And then they had this way to tag feature flags for different purposes, for like search, filtering, and so on. So that sounded a little like labels to me. And then I thought to myself, this sounds like an issue. It sounds like we have a bunch of things that are very similar between feature flags and issues. And it turns out that there's a few more teams that are looking at making other entities issue types. The first one, which we're going to follow suit, is incident response. So the monitor team is now creating an issue type, which is an incident response, which is taking a bunch of modules from the issue type, not everything, but what made sense. And that's kind of where I want to go with feature flags. So the proposal is very light because it's worth a discussion what exactly we want to take from the issues. There's things that are really obvious, like assignee, labels, create date, creator. So you have on the top of the issue, it says created by Angelo 2 weeks ago, right? So that's information that I think is needed for sure.
The history of a feature flag would be really great too. Knowing when you added a new environment, like when you're rolling it out to production, is really useful to know. And when you may roll it back, right?
Exactly. So we do have some audit log capabilities for feature flags, and each new functionality has audit log, but there's a lot of benefits to using an issue. And even the conversation is, I think, beneficial because you can have a conversation there between the team saying, hey, I added this feature flag, here's what it's doing, or have people ask questions on it or open additional items. Another really nice benefit is like a due date. So Jeremy, I think it was the growth team that talked to me about the fact that there's no process right now to clearly know when to remove a flag. And it goes, let's say that you decide to leave a flag on because you're doing an experiment for 60 days. How are you supposed to remember in 60 days to remove it? But if you add a feature flag and then have a due date, you get this annoying reminder that you need to do something about it. So there's a lot of benefits there. I'm not sure everything is needed, but some parts definitely.
Yeah, in our experimentation process, we specifically open issues that link back to the feature flag so that we do this. And in the process of resolution of the experiment, we go back and we clean up the code and remove the feature flag.
Did that answer your question, Angel?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I get the point of the discussion, but I'm still maybe it's worth to see where it's going and then see how the discussion around the feature flag evolves. But I do think making it as an issue type is a great idea. Also, I remember like just started some client had a need to somehow shield the feature flag from some groups that could not activate it or could activate it. So maybe having SNEs or something like that on a feature flag would also help in permissions and kind of, right? So that's a great suggestion that you made. So yeah, thanks.
So
No, I just wanted to know if anyone had questions. Go ahead, Tim.
I was just thinking about adding the contextual issue of like linking an issue to a feature flag. If staging is the source of truth for all of our feature flags, that will fundamentally not work. Like we wouldn't be able to associate a feature flag hosted in staging with a issue in GitLab.com. So I don't know if there's any way to like propagate, like have a two-way a sync mechanism or something.
That's a good point.
So just a thought out there.
Yeah. I do want to mention that regarding the feature flags as an issue type, we're also thinking of feature flags like in a broader sense. We want to make them a first-class citizen. So making them an issue type is the first, like one of the steps to get there. We also want to move it out from its current location. So right now, feature flags is under the operations menu, which isn't very intuitive and it's really hard to find. So we're thinking of a better place to put it. There's some discussion of consolidating a bunch of release activities under one menu. So like environments and releases and feature flags, and maybe even deployments, even though deployments is currently under, like, you need to get there from environments, but we're thinking of taking that out as well. So there's a lot of different discussions of making this more visible and more usable. Thank you, Chase, for taking notes. Anyone else? We have 3 minutes left.
Thanks for all the work.
Okay, great. So thank you all.